Mame fa say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Thank you, National Secretary, Ghana Government Pensioners Association. Thank you very much. We'll move on to pick the keynote address, and that to be done by the grandson of Indewura Jakpa, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Your Excellency, you are welcome. We invite you to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Reverend Father Campbell. It's always great to see you and to share in your experience. That was a very informative presentation you made in your acceptance speech. I also want to congratulate our Veterans Association of Ghana. I like your brown uniforms. When I came, I was wondering, I said, which group is this? And then Father Campbell said, oh, it's the military. And I said, oh, the military. I see some older people, you know, in it. It can't be the military. And so I asked the organizers, they said, oh, that's the veteran VAG. And I said, wow, these are heroes of time past. I welcome you and thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge Ghana Government Pensioners Association. That was a very powerful, spirited speech your leader gave, and I took note of several of the things that you said, and I believe that we should be sitting more with you and discussing some of the issues that affect pensioners. One of the things you talked about was being paid more so that pensions will be better. The problem we know is in the structure and systems of our remuneration, and that's why I've always said that we should amend the Constitution and amend Article 71, because 71 is what creates the disparity between the political class and the other groups in terms of salaries. And that's because while everybody else is on single spine, Article 71 says that a special committee shall be set up by the President to determine the emoluments of a certain category of people. And so our proposal has always been that let's have an independent emoluments commission to determine the salaries of everybody from the lowest to the highest, so that we're all on the same page. So we'll continue to work together with you and make sure that things are more equitable. But I have a speech prepared for me, and so I'll quickly go to it. Reverend Chairman, and let me stand on the protocol that has been established already in order that we can save some time. I'm very honored to join you today to celebrate the United Nations International Day for Older Persons and the inaugural Aging Summit. Let me start by sharing a personal story. I have a good friend, a professor at the University of Ghana, and although we regularly stayed in touch over the phone, I hadn't seen him in a while. When we finally met a while ago, I found my friend was holding a walking stick to support himself. Unfortunately, this story is not uncommon with older persons as we age. As we age, it is common to experience various physical ailments such as waist pains, knee aches, back and neck discomforts, and general bodily weakness. Some individuals even require wheelchairs and Zimmer frame walkers to assist them with their mobility. I have many elderly friends I visit and attend to occasionally, and these challenges which impact the quality of their lives are all too familiar and similar. However, it is also important to acknowledge that some older adults are living their best lives after retirement without much to worry about. These individuals are the fortunate ones enough to be in good health. They enjoy a comfortable lifestyle and a very active one. I pray one day that I can count myself as one of those lucky ones without aches and pains. Another beauty about visiting the elderly is when you find them surrounded by their families and grandchildren. Even for the short family visits with grandpa or grandma, imparting wisdom and guidance to the younger ones. Contrary to being a vulnerable group, the elderly have a wealth of knowledge and experience they share, and if given the opportunity, they can contribute significantly to our society's progress. Sadly, many older persons cannot access the necessary support systems and environment to help them be more comfortable during their retirement from active working life. This is a matter of concern and impairs the ability of the elderly to contribute meaningfully to society. And this is why I'm excited the elderly are the primary focus of today's gathering. It is important to talk about the aged, especially when our country faces economic and leadership problems. Yes, we must focus on the youth, providing education for them, skills training, mentorship, and employment opportunities. But we must not overlook the plight of the elderly who have served our society and deserve their earned rest in retirement. That is why we need to raise awareness of the conditions of our parents and grandparents and commemorate the UN International Day of Older Persons. We should support the Universal Declaration of Human Rights regarding older persons. Discussing quality aging is a conversation everyone needs to participate in, even the younger generation. And let me explain why. According to the United Nations, a person is considered elderly if they are 60 years or older. And actually in Ghana, we set the retirement age for 60 years. And so after 60 years, you are expected to go home and rest. Medical research, however, sets the age of elderliness at 65 or above. As of 2020, only 5.6% of Africa's population was aged 60 years or older, making it the smallest proportion of elderly persons worldwide. The whole world, Africa has the smallest population of elderly people, put at 5.6%. This contrasts with North America, that is America and Canada, where 23.4% of the population is 60 years or older. Other regions have similar double-digit percentage of elderly people. The 2021 National Population and Housing Census found that in Ghana, 4.3% of our population is 65 years or older, 4.3%. But if you use the 60-year marker, that is likely to rise another 1.3 percentage points. And so it means that in Ghana, if you take 60 and above, people 60 and above would be about 5.4% of the population, which is close to the African average. In number terms, the number of older Africans and Ghanaians is projected to triple from 7.4 million. That means in the whole of Africa, currently persons who are considered old, 60 years and above, number 74.4 million. And this is going to increase by 2050 to 235 million older persons. Even more striking is that by 2050, there will be more older people than children under 15 in Africa for the first time. For the first time from 2050, the number of older people is going to exceed the number of children between 1 and 15 years for the first time. In Ghana, a lot of this can be found in our population statistics. The last population census showed a slowdown in our population growth. Existing statistics point to a slowdown in birth rates. It means that women are having fewer children. It also shows a reduction in fertility rates. Of course, this is easy to, you can easily find out what is accounting for this. More girls are going to school, and it's known that when women are educated, they tend to have fewer children. And then apart from that, girls are staying longer in school. And so if childbirth is delayed until they are 18 years and above, then it means that the number of children they would have in their lifetime is fewer than if they had dropped out of school at, say, 14 years. We know that in many places where children drop out, by 15, 16, they are mothers. And you find children looking after children because the girl herself is a child and she has to look after a child. So these are things that we should take note of. This means today's young people will become the old people in 2050 in more proportions. And that's why I say we should all take an interest. It's not only the elderly, the young people too should take an interest. Because today's young people, tomorrow will be tomorrow's old people. And so the conditions we put in for the elderly would come to benefit us when we grow old ourselves. This shift is due to the younger active working population aging into this bracket. That's the bracket of the elderly. As a result, we must prepare for the future of the young, even as we take care of the old of today. Allow me, therefore, to congratulate the Los Abuelos Foundation for the timely organization of the first Ghana Aging Conference. Well done, Aiko Los Abuelos. We thank you very much. My presence here is a firm endorsement of the conference as a biennial convergence of relevant stakeholders to dialogue on issues that affect and promote the quality of aging in Ghana. And I assure you, Los Abuelos, from a humble beginning today, the first Aging Conference, I see this conference growing from strength to strength to become the foremost stakeholder interaction in our dear nation on issues of the elderly. I also agree with the Los Abuelos Foundation that we have many issues affecting healthy aging in Ghana. And these include a lack of subsidized healthcare and transport, the near absence of both geriatric centers for specialized care and aged-friendly environments in our communities, abuse of the rights of the elderly, and low pension allowances and incomes. And I think Father Campbell spelled out a lot of these things. You go to many public places and they are not elderly friendly because they don't have the facilities to assist the elderly to be able to access the social services that they need. We also know the abuse of the rights of elderly. In many of the villages, when a woman grows old, then accusations of witchcraft and all kinds of things start to come in. When your children and your grandchildren are not doing well, they can't find employment, you go and blame your old grandmother. She has nothing to do with it. She's minding her own business. You go and start beating her and calling her a witch. And some of these churches too and fetish priests will identify people with witchcraft just because they are elderly. And so we must take note of all these. And of course, my friend Ghana Government Pensions Association talked about low pensions, allowances and incomes. And let me add the recent cruel stab by the government in the retirement income securities and of the elderly due to the domestic debt exchange. I'm sure you've all seen some of our elderly pensioners picketing the Ministry of Finance because the little NOCO fuel they got, they went and put it into government bonds. And all over the world, government bonds are supposed to be the safest investment that one can make, because governments normally don't default on their debts. And so this is a novelty. I mean, the trust that our pensioners had and when they put their small inside bonds, today they are suffering because of that. Indeed, aging should be everybody's concern and our priority and business. We must ensure that the aged receive their returns on investment, and they must have no cause to worry about their social security and their pensions. To help improve the economic well-being of older people, we must guarantee them financial inclusion by facilitating easy access to microfinance services. It will enable them to save, invest, and access funds for their basic needs and for emergencies. Ladies and gentlemen, ahead of the 2020 elections, I laid out several policy proposals aimed at improving the general welfare of the elderly in Ghana. These policies were well thought through and tailored specifically towards our elder citizens. We committed to establishing a center of excellence for training social workers to care for the elderly, and also to reactivating the EBAN Elderly Welfare Card to enable Ghanaians above 60 years to have priority access to social services. For those of you who remember, the Ministry of Gender and Children and Social Protection under my administration introduced the EBAN card, and it was a card that the elderly were supposed to have, and when they went to banks and they showed that they were giving priority service instead of having to wait in the queue. It was also supposed to give them discounted bus fares so that they are charged a lower fare than the average person. And so it was supposed to improve their access to social services. So this is something we're going to look at again when we come in collaboration with the Veterans Association, the Ghana Government Pensioners, and all of them. We will reintroduce this card so that our senior citizens get priority whenever they need access to social services. We further promise to amend the National Health Insurance Act to exempt all persons aged 60 and above from paying the NHIS premium. This will remove the inequity that exists currently between SNP pensioners and other pensioners. Because part of the NHIS funding is taken from the contributions of working people on SNP, a certain percentage is taken into the NHIS. So all the working people who contribute to SNP, when they become pensioners 60 and above, they don't pay the NHIS premium. But for those who work in the informal sector and don't contribute to SNP, like our market women, our farmers, and everybody, they are still required to pay NHIS premium, even when they are above 60 years. And so we need to work out this inequity and make sure that everybody who is Ghanaian, who is a senior citizen above 60 years, does not have to pay a premium. Because if they can't pay a premium, it means they cannot access quality health services. We also determined to establish daycare centers where elderly could visit, play games, and interact with their peers. And I think the suggestion was made here that the Department of Social Welfare should establish, elderly centers all across the districts so that elderly persons can go there during the daytime, interact with their peers, and be able to entertain themselves. We remain committed to these promises and shall revisit them at the appropriate time. Relatedly, by creating more community-based social support or networks, such as senior citizens associations or clubs, the elderly will connect and share experience, be able to interact with each other, and find emotional support. I also propose that the Ministry of Tourism should introduce and promote a senior citizens tourism program. This program will allow senior citizens to visit interesting domestic tourism sites that they did not have the opportunity to visit during their working lives. And so instead of sitting at home and being bored and alone and feeling lonely, if the Ministry of Tourism introduces senior citizens tourism promotion programs, you pay a little fee, and during the day you are taking in a bus, you go to Uli Waterfall, you can go to Afajato. If you can still climb mountains, you go and climb the mountain at Afajato. You can go to the Mole Game Reserve and go and see the animals there. I think this would be interesting. I mean, if every quarter there's a senior citizens tourism promotion program, I mean, it will create a lot of entertainment for our senior citizens. I also propose the restoration of the prominence of the Senior Citizens Day, which was celebrated on the 1st of July every year. And on this occasion, we not only celebrate our senior citizens, we also take stock of the quality of care provided for the elderly. Today, the 1st July Senior Citizens Day has been degraded. It's even no longer a holiday. And so I believe that I think we should restore it to its prominence so that we can honor our senior citizens on that day. Also, while in office, I tried to do my bit to alleviate the plight of selected groups of senior citizens, and my sister mentioned it when she spoke. I provided a 1 million Ghana cedi seed money for the establishment of the Musical Aged Musicians Fund. And I'm happy to hear that it is still going well. and we'll see what support we can extend further if God smiles on us. Ladies and gentlemen, affordable and quality health care becomes critical as we age. It is important to integrate a well-functioning geriatric care with Ghana's health system. We must also increase the number of healthcare professionals who specialize in geriatrics. There are not enough of them. And so normally when the elderly are sick, they have to go to a physician who is not specialized in geriatric care. And so sometimes when it's a disease of the elderly, they don't catch it quickly until it's too late. And so we need to get more specialists in geriatrics. In this regard, one of the major proposals I make is for the introduction of an elderly long-term care program for the elderly long-term care program, ELTC. The experts refer to ELTC as a range of non-medical and medical services for individuals who, among others, have reduced physical capacity to care for themselves over extended periods. This will aim at enabling elderly Ghanaians in this state to achieve and maintain optimal levels of personal functionality and maintain their dignity. This would include assisted mobility. And so if the elderly person needs a wheelchair, it is provided so that they can move around. It will also include safe feeding, like Reverend Campbell said, meals on wheels, where elderly people who are not able to go out and earn a living receive some food products in the house so that they can be able to take care of themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the reasons driving our quest to establish a center of excellence for training social workers to care for the elderly. This program will generate jobs for our young people. This is already the case in many advanced countries where young people are trained to provide home-based care for elderly people. If given the opportunity, I propose to include in our social welfare training program and community health nursing program a component for training nurses and community social workers to provide health extension services to the elderly in society. This will include home-based visits. And so if you live in a community, you identify where all the elderly people are. And so in this regard, I envision a day where community nurses and social workers would visit our older persons at home and monitor their blood pressures. Some things as simple as that. Monitor their blood pressure, draw their blood, measure their blood glucose levels to find out, if everything is okay. These are services that we can give to our elderly people to ensure that they have a better quality of life. You can also talk about their nutrition and find out what their diets are so that they are eating healthily to be able to maintain a good quality of health. Our society is experiencing increased life expectancy, but at the same time, we're seeing a high prevalence of non-communicable diseases. There's been a rise of high blood pressure diseases, heart attack, strokes, kidney diseases and all that. These normally were diseases of the elderly, but we can see that its impact is spreading downwards to even younger people. And so if you go to the renal center where kidney dialysis is offered, you find not only elderly people, you find a lot of relatively younger people who shouldn't be there. We don't know what is causing it. Some people say it's the alumbo bitters and other alcoholic drinks that people are taking to strengthen their manpower and other things, So we need to be careful about all that. I want to revisit our 2020 manifesto, in which I promised to declare renal failure, that's kidney failure, diabetes and hypertension, a national health emergency, and provide better access to affordable treatment for persons suffering from these illnesses. I also promised the establishment of a cancer and kidney trust fund to offer support to victims suffering from these diseases that are very expensive to treat. We find that a lot of our relatives who have cancer or kidney ailments, these are very expensive diseases because, I mean, if you go for dialysis or you go for radiation treatment or chemotherapy, these are very expensive. And so we propose to set up a cancer and kidney diseases trust fund. And government will put in some money and we'll get seed money from even the private sector. And this will be used to extend assistance to the poor and vulnerable who cannot afford to be able to undergo these treatments. This fund will support Ghanaians who need assistance with the care of kidney diseases and the various cancers. These promises can be found on page 63 of the NDC Manifesto of 2020. Given the opportunity, we shall bring relief to thousands of our citizens suffering from these ailments. Just this week, there was an uproar when the nation's premier teaching hospital, Kolebu, announced an increase in charges for dialysis treatment by 100%. This was threatening to put the cost of dialysis treatment out of the reach of many patients and their families. The explanation I have read from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital cites the increase in taxes and duties of materials for dialysis treatment as the main reason for their decision to hike the price by 100%. As an immediate measure, I call on the government to exempt medication and kits for dialysis treatment from taxes and duties to maintain this critical lifeline for patients whose survival depends on this treatment. I've had first-hand experience with the story of one of my assemblymen from the Bole Bamboy constituency where I was a member of parliament for 12 years. This assemblyman had to travel weekly to Kumasi for dialysis treatment because there was no such facility anywhere near our constituency. And there are many places in this country where dialysis is not available. And so if you have kidney disease, you either have to travel to Tamale, to Kumasi, to Accra, Cape Coast, or any of those places for dialysis. And you can imagine the transportation alone, including the cost of the dialysis treatment. Most people cannot afford it. So this assemblyman had to travel weekly to Kumasi from Bole Bamboy, my constituency, for dialysis treatment because there was no such facility anywhere near our constituency. After a while, the cost of transportation to and fro became too expensive to bear. He therefore had to move with his wife, who was his caregiver, to Kumasi near the health facility for ease of treatment. The cost of treatment and care drained the family financially. Despite the monetary support I continued to give to the family, the absence of an opportunity for a transplant led to a deterioration in his condition and eventually to his death. He passed away. These are real-life stories. They are not statistics. These are the lives of our citizens, our people. Amidst the current economic crisis and a difficult period for many Ghanaians with worsening hardship, high cost of living, collapsing businesses and unemployment, the government should not be insensitive by passing on catastrophic healthcare costs onto the people with life-threatening diseases, especially the elderly. Because this is akin to condemning them to a death sentence. Many of such patients in this bracket are elderly people. Another issue of concern, great concern to me, is our emergency care or critical care system relating to intensive care units and high dependency units in hospitals. While in office, we replaced many of the obsolete health equipment in all the major Ghanaian hospitals. We also constructed ultra-modern hospitals such as the Ridge Hospital, the University of Ghana Medical Center, the Bank Hospital, the Maritime Hospital in Tema, the Dodowa Hospital, the Ghana East Hospital, and actually several such hospitals across the length and breadth of the country. The credible information suggests that Ghana's premier teaching hospital, the Kolebu Hospital, is struggling with inadequate ventilators in the intensive care unit. While promising to fix the healthcare system as we have envisaged, I'm appealing to this government to immediately attend to the needs of Kolebu and other hospitals that are in need of this critical equipment. This critical intervention will limit the avoidable deaths that their present state of deprivation may occasion. Our population is aging, and with aging, the need for better health care becomes a high priority. And this is why we're committed to providing our beloved country, Ghana, with a compassionate leadership that meets our citizens' aspirations. We will not only work to bring our economy back on track, but also create an environment for our people to prosper. We will provide accountable leadership that ensures our communities are developed with the needed social and economic infrastructure to bring relief to all Ghanaians. I stand before you today at the first Ghana Agent Summit to renew my commitment to these promises, including providing better access to affordable health care for the aged. Ladies and gentlemen, we can meet the goals of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for older persons, the SDGs, and the African Union Agenda 2063. As a key step, we must reinforce the legal framework that protects the interests and the rights of the aged by facilitating the passage of the Social Protection Bill and the Aged Persons Bills. I'm fully committed to this noble objective, and I'll lead advocacy for an effective implementation of these bills when they have been passed. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, it is not enough to raise awareness about the need for health care and social provision for the elderly. Let us assist them with access to new technology and help the elderly use these technologies to improve the quality of their lives. Let us make the effort to spend quality time with the elderly in our families and our communities. We can attend church or community activities, frequently call and speak with them, or spend time with them at home. This way we can help the elderly and gain insights into what it means to grow old with dignity. Remember that we will all grow old one day, and any investment we make in the care for the elderly is an investment that we make for ourselves. I leave you with a Bible quotation which was given to me by Reverend Father Campbell as I sat next to him. He's carrying a very heavy Bible. And so after he spoke, he sat next to me, and then he opened a Bible verse and asked me to read it. He was going to add it to his speech, but I thought his speech was too long, so he left it out. So I'm adding it for him. And so all of you, when you have the opportunity, when you go home, take your Bibles and open to Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, and look at chapter 3 and read verse 1 to 15. It talks about the duties to our parents, what children must do for their parents, so that in future their children will do the same for them. And so I recommend it to you for your homework when you go home today. Thank you very much, and my appreciation to the Los Abuelos Foundation for the opportunity to join you and celebrate the UN International Day of Older Persons with you. Thank you for your attention. Akpe.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM Teạrs. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.